So welcome back to my studio today. If it's your first time here, a very warm welcome to you. What you see is what you get here, very much. You can see there's piles. Actually, you can't see the piles. I can see the piles. You can see the nice artwork on the display at the back there. I can just see the mess everywhere. I did have a big tidy up, but you wouldn't believe it, really. However, exciting stuff. Let me see. How is your day going so far? Mine's been a bit bumpy so far today. My husband rang at about 8:15 and said his car exhaust had just fallen off on the way to work. So that kind of set the tone for the morning. We had a bit of toing and froing, and luckily we've got a spare car and we could manage it. He managed to tie it on with a piece of string and come back, drop it at the garage, and so on and so forth. So anyway, best laid plans. I've done my shopping, so I've got the food in, and now I'm down here in my studio, and I have been so excited because I've been wanting to get on with this lovely little pile of paper that I have printed. I can't really show you it very easily because I've got things, I've been putting bits of paper on which I'm going to show you. So I'm really ready for the next sort of stage in my sketchbook, which is very exciting. The printing and the painting, you could be at it for days and you could go down so many rabbit holes with it, because I find once you get going, you just don't want to stop. It's just amazing how the ideas come and you just think, well, what if I do this and what if I do that, and perhaps I'll try this. So in a way you kind of have to keep a focus as well. So this is me trying to keep it fairly simple, so partly so I don't just fry your brain as well as mine with it all. So what I'd like to do today is actually do some gluing and some stitching, and then see what I've got, have a little look and see then what I want to do next with it, whether I want to do some sort of drawing into it, whether I want to stick things in it, whether I want to write words on it or what. But I've gone in a very different direction to how I started off. If you watched last week's video, I kind of turned the camera off because I do find sometimes in order to really get into my zone, I have to sort of stop filming and just let myself go off down the rabbit holes and then see what comes out, and then I've got lots of lovely things to show you. So I was kind of showing you the basics of how to get going, and then it's up to you. If you want to use this as a technique, it's a really good way. It gets you out of your usual sort of way of doing things, perhaps. It takes you in a new direction. I've had some ideas while I've been doing this, and I'm just thinking about how I actually want to go next towards my exhibition, the exhibition that we're doing later in the year. So it's a really good starting point, and especially at this time of the year, why not just get some paint out and play? That's what I say. So I'm going to just get on with what's next and show you. I hope you'll enjoy it. Oh, and while I'm on, thank you so much. I've had some lovely comments and I've had some new subscribers, even more than last week, which is great. So thank you so much for your support here. It's what makes it a place to come, isn't it? When there's people talking and chatting to you and sharing, and you know, we can build a community here of creativity, and that can only be a good thing. So this is my lovely pile of paper. Now, some of it, okay, I was doing, when I showed you last week, I was doing like a whole page of printing, and I've got some really nice marks, and that was lovely. And I've got various ones that I did that are a whole page, so something like that, and then something like this as well, or not a complete whole page. But anyway, I was aiming to cover the whole page with some print. Now then, what happened when I turned the camera off and was in my top secret little world, I suddenly realised what I could be doing. I don't know if you can see that very well, but I started using thinner strips of things, and I actually used a paintbrush for some of it. So I had I was putting washers on top. So this has got a grey print on the background. It's got a little bit of bubble wrap printed there, a little bit of corrugated cardboard printed there, and behold, lo and behold, I've got a little landscape going on. And you can then be adding, I mean, this is maybe not the right sort of thing, but you can then be adding different things onto it. So what I have is a stash of pre-printed bits and pieces, some of which I showed you last week. So this is newspaper that I've been doing printing onto, and I keep it all because it's very useful for this stage of things when you can start to add other things in. I've also got bits of painted lace. You could even be using the actual bubble wrap itself to stick on to create a bit more texture. So I just started playing around. I'm going to just put those two to the side so that you can see suddenly they've gone from being just a page to being an actual landscape, and I'm really quite chuffed. Even something simple like that where it's got just a couple of pieces added on, you can start to see there's possibilities there if you add other bits onto it. So I'm not saying this is the right shape or anything, but you could be adding, you know, bits of lace on. You could be adding bits of textured pieces of paper on. You could be doing more printing on, or you could be taking your pen or your pencil or whatever you've got and start drawing into this landscape that you've got going on here. So it's like a hint of a landscape. I felt it was really quite exciting. So even that was the one I did with my my glue. I made some marks on the perspex that I was printing off, and then just put bubble wrap on the top. And I'm not saying this is the world's greatest of anything, but it starts to become quite interesting when you add other things on. It's like you made a base. So this one, you see, that's got just very something plain, a little bit of wash over the top, a little bit of soft cardboard printing, and then you can tear up some of your pre-printed bits and start to add them on and play with them and see what works. See what works for you. Some bits might work better than others. You know, you might decide actually you want to pinch that off the other one and stick it on there. Tear your paper, you know, oh look, see that sort of works with that bit there. It's almost like a ploughed field down there. This is bits of old diary. I had a beautiful diary that my husband bought me one year, and I've used it and printed onto it, and it's given me this lovely surface. So you see, I quite like that with that. And that would be too much, I think. The main problem is deciding and choosing and adding just the right amount to what you want to create from, you know, this very simple base. So I love the sweep of this. I just did a wash of paint going over there, and it created this lovely line with the printing. And then again, you can be adding little bits on. You can be adding, what's this bit? Oh, in fact, I probably shouldn't take that off there. Some of these are things I've played with earlier. I'll just pull that one out. You know, see what pleases your eye. It's all about the same as when you're using your fabrics. It's about what pleases your eye. And then I'm going to just faff about with these and see. See, I quite like that. That's quite fine as it is. Now, I'm not actually aiming to create something here. I'm just giving the hint of something. And what happened was the paint and printing took me on a journey. And I've come up with the idea that my work is going to just be about landscape. And landscape is out in all seasons. So I'm just going to work with what comes. But I like that because it changed my viewpoint. I was so fixed on it being autumn. I chose these colours. That just came to me, choosing the grey and the sort of lilac-y colours. So I love these. That's just a bit of cardboard. I tore it or cut it, and you've got this feeling of a fence going across the land. Maybe there's a bit of snow on the land. You know, maybe there's a snowstorm. There's little bits of things flying around in the air. And then again, that was the one with just a sweep. It's quite, I think, there's quite sort of heathery and Scottish feeling to this, like a misty island or something. See, that does, what happens when you put things on top is it gives it a bit of definition. And obviously I will be using some of these to draw into and even stitch into, which I will show you. No, that one needs printing on the other side. This one's a bit random. I just printed it with my cardboard tube. I feel as though it's quite, oh, hello geese. Just wanting to join in, and some little, that was printed with my cotton reel spool. So not this actual one, but just something like that, printed like that. Again, it's got, you know, it's a different kind of landscape going on. It could be, you know, big bales in a field or something like that. And that's just plain on the back. This one I tore up a bit of the newspaper here. And you see, when it's just like that, there's nothing there, is there? There's nothing to see. But once you start putting a bit of something in, it starts to create something with a bit of interest. and then you can start to see with your eye, because it's very personal, completely personal to you, and you may not want to do this at all, but I've just got very excited about it. It just was very different and not what I had expected to happen, and that's always a good thing. So this has just got a little piece of bubble wrap that I chopped up. I've started drawing some lines on here because I kind of initially wasn't sure which way up it went. So I drew some lines on because it was almost, I felt this was almost got like a reflection going on into a lake or something. But again, if you start to put something on top, you could be putting things down there, you could be putting lace across there. Whatever you do, it starts to tell a story, and each piece that you put on or take off changes the story, and I really like that. And you could be faffing about with this for hours, and there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to actually make the choices if you don't want to. You could keep these like this, and this could be your place to play whenever you come to your sketchbook. Leave some of these pages out and just play with them. So I think for me, what I'm going to do next is glue a few pieces down, and I really want to do a bit of stitching and see where that takes me. I'm a bit scared to do it because when you've got something like this, which is a really nice surface which you're pleased with, there's this fear, isn't there, that you're going to spoil it somehow. And I just think, well, you just have to think, well, I'm just going to be changing it. If I don't like it, it's only a page in a sketchbook. There's no, it's not life or death. There's no harm done if I, do something that I think, oh, I didn't like that so much. The other good thing is, if you do something that you don't like, you could possibly either tear it off or stitch something else on top of it, or glue something else on top of it, There is so many possibilities. Almost too many, but I won't say that because, you know what, this is just fun, isn't it? So I think the next thing is I'm going to take you over to my sewing machine after I've glued these down, and we'll have a little look at what we do over there. Okay, I'm doing this with my really dirty fingers, but I'm not bothered because I'm not using my nice machine and I'm just doing paper. So I'm just going to do some stitching here. I've got a dark brown thread in the top and we're just going to go for it. Just get those threads out of the way. No idea what it's going to turn out like, but I'm just going for it. So this I'm just drawing with one of my wax soluble crayons here, and I just chose this at random. It happened to be blue. I actually thought it was going to be grey, but it was blue, and I rather like that because it's made a nice contrast. And I thought this has got such a simple background, it doesn't want anything complicated on it. So I'm just doing that quick drawing, and out of my head, and somewhere I've got a paintbrush. Okay, so I'm just going to add a bit of water to these. I quite like them a little bit rough, but if you add a bit of water it makes the colour come through a bit more. So you can wet all of it or you can wet some of it. Again, it changes it. So I'll have to let this dry. That might be something that I might stitch over the top of. While it's wet, I suppose you could even take a print from it if you were feeling really that way inclined. You could take a print of it while it's wet. But and again, it would change it, and it would probably pinch some of the colour from here. But if you wanted to just try it, shall I try that? Should we just try that? Should we just go like this and see what happens? Let's just do that and see what happens. I've no idea what's going to happen. It may be completely rubbish, but I'm willing to take the risk. Yeah, that's not very good. Okay, so I just thought I'd show you how you use a piece of polystyrene to make some marks. I actually bought this, but as I said, you can use, bits of old meat tray and stuff like that if you wash them well. So I've just got a pointy object here, which is a pair of scissors, and I'm trying to make a sort of, well, it's either grasses or it might well be sort of hedgerowy. Just depends how you look at it, how you view it. This is quite good fun. It's very free. I'm just making these lovely marks on here, and I'm just gouging it, not too deeply, because it is a little bit delicate, this stuff. It will break if you're not careful. But I just thought, well, give it a go, and we'll just get some paint onto there. I'm looking for the piece of paper I want to use it on too. Okay, so I've got this nice brown paint that I'm just going to put on top of here. Just a little bit of water on there, I think, just a little bit. I don't want it too wet. You see, it already makes really nice marks. If you have it too wet, I think the paint actually doesn't stick very well, but we'll just see. I don't mind how it turns out. I'm just playing with it. Now, we'll have to stick that onto a piece of paper. So I'm just going to put this piece of Perspex over because I've made a bit of a mess on the paper, and I don't really want that brown blob coming onto my nice... Oh, look, because that's on the other side. Let's put that down there, and we're just going to have a go at putting this over here, kind of thinking about there. Right, okay, and I'm actually going to use my roller here for this one because it will help it to go down better. But you could just use your hands. Shall we take this off? Ta-da! Right, I like that. And I think what I'm going to do is do a little bit more at this end. Roll a little bit at this end. It's all about looking and seeing if you like it. And I think that's given a little bit of definition of a hill to there. It's got a hint of something going on there. It's quite delicate, but I just really wanted to show you how that works. So, quite fun. So I quite like that as a print. I think that's quite successful. It's made some really nice marks. That could just be the hillside with marks on it, or as I say, it could be sort of grasses or whatever your imagination wants to make it. And the other thing is I'm thinking down here, we could just do with something, because that's quite dark and dominant. I could do with something down here in the foreground. So I'm just wondering whether I either do some nice upward marks, maybe put some dots along there, although you see it's already got those, so perhaps not. Let's just play with a couple of things here. I just feel as though it needs something to bring the eye to here before the eye goes up there. I've got this other piece here as well. No. What about this piece here? This has got some silver on it from a previous incarnation. So you could be putting something really in the distance and imagining there's another hill up there and then making that into a bit of land. But what if... what if I put that there? Now that makes sense to me. I don't know why, it just does. So I think I will glue that on there, and I might stitch it on, I'm not sure, because I've got the other side stitched. But I think if I use cream thread it should be fine. So I think I will stitch that onto there. So you can see how it's all just about playing with what you've got, keeping it simple, sort of repeating things, using the same several... I've only used 3 or 4 different kinds of things to print with, so I've kept it really simple, because otherwise you'll end up going down a rabbit hole and never being seen again, and getting quite bonkers with it. So I'm going to stitch that on, and I'm going to do some more pages because I've got lots to do. So I can't quite decide what my favourite part of doing this is. I think the whole thing has just been such a lot of fun. I've got lots more to do. As you can see, I've got lots of bits waiting here to be sort of stuck down and stitched down. I've been playing around with my compositions. I've got different things going on. I've got different colours going on. Tearing up bits of paper, tearing up magazine pictures, all kinds of things going on. But the bit I showed you was stitching this, which is on a piece of painted brown paper that I happen to have in, a previously painted piece, awfully useful to keep. And what I'm liking about, because I've actually stitched it and it's loose, I can then put it on top of things and see, what I would like, where I'd like it to go, basically. Do you want it on something like that? It's got so many potentials going on with it, and it's got a lovely thing on the back as well, which is the I had black thread on the back and brown on the front, and I love the way you get this really, it's a different texture to it, and you could actually be painting that and printing from that as well. I have done printed from stitch in the past as well. So this is another piece that I did, and I've actually stitched it down onto this page and then put a simple piece of this is painted diary. I had a beautiful diary that my husband gave me a few years ago, and it's got the most beautiful paintings on already, and it seems awful just to paint over the top of them, but it's often when I've just it just sort of knocks back the colour, and you know, it's all mostly done by accident, it's not necessarily by design. So there we go, I think that's it for today. I will get some more stitching done, and hopefully next week I might be able to show you the book and give you a nice flip through of the book, which will be very exciting. I'm excited. I hope you've been inspired by it. If there's any bits that you particularly like, do let me know. Leave me a comment down below. If you think this is something that you'd like to do yourself, do let me know, because I think it's so exciting. If this inspires you to perhaps stitch into something that you wouldn't normally stitch into. Oh, you see, look, there's the back of that one. I hadn't turned that one over either. What a lovely line of black stitching going across the landscape that was almost there. So I'm going to say cheerio for now, and I will see you all next week back in my studio for some more fun creating. Have a good week. Bye for now.